Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, You Must Work the Weekend. I was an IT contractor for a company doing a large new project. There were about 30 people writing code. We were allowed as much overtime as we were willing to work, and I could use the money. I was working 12 hours, 5 days a week. On the weekends, I would go racing, usually out of state. It was common on Thursday to get called into a meeting saying we needed to work 8 hours on Saturday, 4 on Sunday. Most people would have 52 hours in total. I would do it if available, putting me at 72 or 76, since 4 hours is stupid. Other times I would point out I would already be at 60 and had plans. I was given an exception for the first couple of times. Then I was told I was not being a team player. So I clarify, if I work 12 hours between 5 p.m. Friday and 9 a.m. Monday, is that good? Yes. Well, okay then. I left the office at 9 p.m. on Friday, 4 of the 12 down. The race trailer was already loaded up and ready to go. I headed out in the morning for a 4-hour drive. After the race, I headed back. Since I was driving near the office and the parking lot was empty, I pulled in the trailer at around 3 a.m. I figured just badging in wasn't enough to demonstrate compliance. I sent an email out to the group with every task I had completed. I completed everything I had been assigned. There was a whiteboard with unassigned tasks. I sent an email that I was pulling a task, then another when completed. I had my full hours in at 11 a.m. I was being a smartass. However, I didn't really expect the manager to get as annoyed about it as he did. A bit later, my contract was cut by the manager for my abrasive personality. The fallout seems to have been against me, but not in the end. My contract was cut. I was told on a Thursday morning and given the next 3 full weeks' notice. By Thursday afternoon, I had a job interview scheduled for Monday. By Monday afternoon, I had a couple more scheduled. I started a new position with no gap. That is pretty much the malicious compliance. Below is the fallout from the retaliation. The manager blamed the abrasive personality comment on the business. They are the people asking for and defining the project. I only worked with one. During my notice, I was working with her. I said something about someone else having to do the next phase. She says, "Yeah, that sucks." After giving cat butt face, I tell her that I was told the business wanted me gone. Since she was the only business I dealt with, wavy hand motion. She just got a pissed look and stormed off. Her anger went up the organizational tree and back down my branch. Manager was told, "I want OP on this project. Deal with it." I had multiple people, HR, managers, peers, etc., ask me if I wanted to stay. They would have to make the crap hit the fan to do so. They didn't want to do that if I was leaving anyway. I said I already had accepted an offer. I just wished that he had been the one to ask me to stay. He was made to ask me if I could extend the notice period to provide training sessions on my techniques. Me. So you want my productivity, just not me. Well, yeah. No, I already scheduled to start a new position. During my notice, 12 people found new positions and gave their notice. The attitude was that if the company was willing to cut me, they could cut anyone at any time. They would rather leave on their terms. That was not a problem for coders at that particular point in time. I was still working 60 hours a week during my notice period. On my last day when leaving, the only person still there was that manager's boss. When I said bye, he said he had meant to talk to me before I left. I sat down and talked. I said, "You must be wondering why I would be working late on my last day." I wanted the section of software I was on to be working before I left, so no one could blame me for not getting it done. I said I was the only one left in the last few months who was working on it. All tests had passed that day. Any section with similar work has 6 people working on it and is not done. He began to question the manager's decision-making. He thanked me and said he may reach out in the future. A couple of months later, someone reached out to me to see if I would come back. The manager's contract was cut, as there were the other 3 people from his contract house. An employee who was buddies with the manager was moved off the project. Apparently, since the manager was also a contractor, he could not technically cut my contract. It was done by this employee. I didn't go back as my new abrasive personality manager and I got along great. The next story is titled, Terrorize My Family? Enjoy losing everything and going back to jail. Myself and my wife had just had our second child and moved into a duplex in an amazing neighborhood. Had its own playground even. We moved in and greeted the neighbors. Bunch of younger people, but seemed okay. The first day after moving in, we find that they're gone, and they've left their 7-year-old on a school day outside our door with a bag of goldfish and a note asking us to watch him while they went out. Cue Child Protective Services. Call number 1. The neighbors and me got along real well. Old guy next door repaired bikes for a hobby, and the next-door neighbor did woodworking and would always come over to see the kids and send his grandkids over to play. They warned us that our upstairs neighbors were trouble. Constant traffic going in and out and parties every single night. That was 110% the truth. It got to the point we couldn't sleep at night. We had multiple altercations to the point it was full-blown yelling matches. The landlord was useless and would do nothing to get rid of them. So I bided my time. Eventually one night, they came home in their red Mazda 3, and it was destroyed. They must have hit someone and ran. So I called the RCMP to let them know, at the very least, I figured they'd get in deep crap. But oh man, I had no idea what I had just unleashed. Turns out, the douchebag had a warrant out for his arrest for drug trafficking. He got hauled away in cuffs that night, and entitled woman 2 got a visit from the Child Protective Services again as they left their son home alone again. This wasn't once or twice, it was every single day. So my wife went digging for names and found the mother on Facebook. Using public record searches, we found out they had owed Easy Home nearly $48,000 in assets, as they had been taken off from the original address with all of their furniture, including TVs, and a huge sound system. 48 hours later, the sheriff was there with a box truck, emptying their house. Took the beds, couches, TVs, the annoying subwoofer system, kitchen set, and even the dressers. CPS came shortly after and removed the child from the house. I didn't enjoy seeing him taken away, but they never fed him, and he was always in the same clothing, and it was falling apart. We went out of our way to make sure that he had full meals when we could. Not going to let a kid starve. The douchebag went to jail for drug possession. He was out on bail and hid the drugs in a dresser that they took. Entitled Woman 1 went to jail for assaulting the sheriff, and Entitled Woman 2 actually had a happy ending. Far as I know, after she lost her son, she went through multiple programs to clean herself up and start working to provide for her son. Ran into her a couple of years ago, and she thanked me for what I did. I got pro-revenge on the drug dealer and his girlfriend, and thankfully helped someone get on the right path. The next story is titled, Give Me My Free Food and Let Me Sit in Your Restaurant. I work at a locally owned Mexican restaurant. The owners are two of the most kind, compassionate, and selfless people I've ever met. The reader board outside of the restaurant reads as follows: Hungry? No money? We will feed you. And they mean it. If you are hungry and have no money, you can eat for free. There are a couple exceptions to this. 1, there is a limited menu available. 2, it must be to go. It's assumed if someone doesn't have the money for food, they don't have the money for a tip. Last week, a family of 4 came in saying they saw the sign and would like to order food. I gave them the limited menu to choose from. This is the conversation we had. CB, I don't see fajitas on here. I want shrimp fajitas. Me, the only free options available are what's on that menu, sir. CB, well, that's unfortunate. I don't like these options. Can you ask your boss if I can get fajitas? I had to text my boss. Surprise, he said no. Me, I'm sorry, he said he cannot do fajitas for free. He then rolled his eyes and looked at the menu again. CB, you guys need to expand the options on this menu, but I guess I'll take this and this. I rang their order in and said I would bring it out to them when it's ready. CB, we want to eat here. Me, I'm sorry, we only do to-goes on free items. CB, that's not going to work for us. We want to eat here. Me, I'm sorry, but our policy is if you order off the free menu, you can only take it. Then this guy has the balls to cut me off by raising his hand up in the air. He then herds his family to the closest booth and sits down. I follow and explain the policy again. I told them if they want to dine in, that's fine. I would cancel their free order and they can pay for their food. This got them out of the booth. The guy then demanded he speak to the owner. I again tell him he's not available. I give him a business card instead. He actually says thanks for nothing after I hand him $50 worth of free food. This is Swipe. Actually left us a 1-star review on Yelp. The nerve of some people astonishes me. The next story is titled, Adults Should Have Some Fun Too. My mom never stands up for herself. So when she shared this story with me, I was so proud I almost popped. My mom's sister, who I'll call Angie, has decided to wrap her whole identity around being a grandmother. And as a result, she's made every family get-together, holiday reunion, etc. revolve around her grandkids since the birth of her first one about 8 years ago. The addition of more grandkids has not quelled her mania, and the rest of the family is pretty tired of it. Every year for Christmas, Mom puts together a silly activity for the adults. She wraps money and other small prizes in layers in a ball made of cellophane or plastic wrap with different types of tape here and there. Everyone unwraps frantically and tries to get as many prizes as possible out before having to toss the ball to someone else. This year, Angie decided her grandkids were old enough to join in the game and told Mom how much fun they were going to have with the children joining in. Mom was a bit taken back and told Angie she always meant this to be an activity for the adults. The kids had plenty of other things to keep them entertained, and that if she really wanted a ball for the kids, Angie could make her own. A fight ensued, ending with Mom giving in to Angie as always, except it doesn't stop there. Before the big day, Mom decided to add a few more layers to the ball after a quick trip to an adult novelty store. When Angie's 6-year-old granddaughter wound up with a penis-shaped whistle in her lap, Angie hurriedly ushered all of her grandchildren out of the room, refusing to talk to Mom for the rest of the evening. Mom explained to everyone left in the room it's a game she makes for the adults, so she wasn't sure why Angie was surprised by the appearance of adult prizes. The last story is titled, A Crazy Karen Followed Me Home. So this happened a few years ago. For some context, I was a 22-year-old female, though I do have a baby face and could pass for 16 or 17 years old easy. I had a Yamaha motorbike, 125cc, meaning it could easily go 70 miles per hour. My dad raced motocross, and I've been riding bikes my whole life. He taught me all the road rules and safety do's and don'ts. So one day I'm riding to visit my uncle who lived in the middle of nowhere, and the roads there are all 50 miles per hour and have extreme bends, and on each side of the road is a massive ditch. I'm going 55 miles per hour, only slowing when the bends are bad. Cue a Karen with 3 kids, all under 10, in the back, tailing me. And I mean tailing within a couple of feet to the back of my bike. I speed up to ignore her, and she pulls her minivan to the side of me and tries to force me to the edge of the road, which is just a ditch. I slow and let her pass, my heart racing as I barely kept my bike upright. You think this is where it ends, right? Nope. I was maybe a few miles from my uncle's at this point and have to go through a village high street to get there. As I'm going through, I see Karen. Her minivan is blocking the street and she stood with her door open in the road, her arms out as she tries to stop me and force me off the road. I just managed to get past her as onlookers were yelling at her to stop. I go the last few streets to my uncle's and stop down the road, parking my bike and taking my helmet off. With a screech, Karen's minivan pulls up in front of me and she runs for me screaming, "What the duck is wrong with you? Don't you know how to drive?" When I just stare at her and she screeches again, "Only cars can drive in the road. Bikes have to drive on the side or pavement." Yeah, nope. That's so wrong. That thing can't go fast enough to be in the road. You should have pulled over when I told you to. I'm going to report you. At this point, I see my uncle coming outside, his eyes shifting between the Karen and me. Now, something to know about my uncle and me is that we are crazy close, both pranksters. Also, my uncle is 6 foot and not a small man. So without skipping a beat, I put on a fake sad face and run to him screaming in a terrified voice, "Daddy, this lady tried to grab me off my bike and followed me home. Where I live, you can get a provisional license before 18, meaning I could have been a minor." Trying not to laugh, my uncle puffs up his chest and yells out at the woman who had just run after me and was now behind us, "You followed my little girl home? She's a child." Karen's face went white, and I swear she looked like she had crapped herself as she tried to defend herself, only for my uncle to interrupt her. As loud as he could, making sure every nosy neighbor had come out, he screams, "What are you, some kind of pervert? I'm calling the police." Without blinking, Karen runs for her car, speeding off with 3 confused-looking kids in the back. As soon as Karen was out of view, I told my uncle what happened, and we both laughed as we went inside to see my aunt laughing as she had watched the whole thing through the window. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel.